In 1985, Mary and I took a trip with Russell and Sandra Hightower. We flew from Tampa to Billings, Montana. We then rented a car and drove to Salt Lake City, Utah, stopping along the way at Yellowstone National Park, the Grand Tetons, and Jackson Hole, Wyoming. We made a few other stops along the way. Come join us on the adventure. One of our first stops was at the Buffalo Bill Dam. It was extremely windy that day. From there, we moved on to Yellowstone National Park, and we encountered our first snow. We made our way to Lake Yellowstone, where we were staying the night. We checked into the Lake Hotel. It was a quaint old place, and the oldest portion of the hotel was over 100 years old. We stayed in the new part. It was only 60 years old. The room was small, but we did have a bathroom, something of a novelty in the hotel. Actually, it was a very elegant place, with huge rooms which had high ceilings, large grand pillars outside, stone fireplaces in the lobby, and a beautiful view of Lake Yellowstone. The natural bridge was only a short distance away, so after checking into the hotel, we proceeded to look for it. The direct route up was almost straight up. Mary and Sandra were halfway up with Russell and I yelling, "You can't make it that way." Russell decided to take the right hand, more direct route, which was not much better. I went up the far less strenuous left side. Later, Mary and Sandra tried to follow Russell because they didn't see which direction I went. We all eventually made it, except for Sandra, who stood pathetically at the bottom. We did get her in the pictures, though. The next morning, Russell went fishing with Bob and Sheila Camp. Sandy, Mary, and I all went on an excursion. Leaving Russell behind, we all headed off for Old Faithful. We hiked around the trails, got some long-distance pictures, and had a good time at the Old Faithful Inn. While hiking, we discovered Solitary Geyser. Solitary Geyser was a small pool away from the beaten path. It exploded to a height of about 5 feet every 5 to 8 minutes. We stuck around for 2 eruptions and then headed back down the trail. The next morning, we checked out of the Yellowstone Lake Hotel and headed towards Mammoth, where we were going to spend the night. We explored along the way. The Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone was just up the road. As canyons went, it could not compare to the Grand Canyon, but it was pretty impressive. The main features were 2 falls in the Yellowstone River. We went to Artist Point for a view of the lower falls. Afterwards, we decided to hike down Uncle Tom's Trail. Actually, it wasn't much of a trail, it was mostly steps. That's the longest short walk I have taken in a long time. Down wasn't bad, as always. Up was another thing. Mary was the first to reach the top. Russ and Sandra were last. Sandy said Russ helped her the last part of the trail. All of her tongues were hanging out, and nobody was interested in any more trails that day. As we drove on to Mammoth Hot Springs, where we had reservations, we ran across some mountain sheep. At Mammoth Hot Springs, we had a cabin, which wasn't much different than the hotel room we had just left. I think I liked the cabin much better. It had a front porch, which was an added feature. Later that evening, we drove around the upper area of Mammoth Hot Springs. The next day turned out to be a big day for animals. We started the day by hiking around Mammoth Hot Springs. At Indian Creek, there was a sign that read, "Watch for moose." Sure enough, if you watched for moose, you saw moose. Before the day was over, we saw lots of buffalo, elk, and mule deer, to Mary's delight. Seeing the animals is what excites her the most. The Yellowstone portion of our adventure was coming to an end, but the adventure was far from over.